And so, welcome everyone to Empower Your Evolution. And this is Mastering Transitions for Women Entrepreneurs who are 40 plus, sponsored by Self Care U Academy. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Sharon D. Brown, and I am the founder of Self Care U Academy. And with Self Care U Academy is primarily for entrepreneurs and executives so that you can master self-care while sustaining your sanity without sacrificing yourself, because that is one of the things that you can do end up doing as an entrepreneur, and especially as a female. And with me, one thing that led into my self-care journey, it's deeply personal, and it is after a breakup. I walked into a yoga class, and then from there, I ended up going to yoga teacher training, and that's when I really got connected with myself. But then I started binging on different ways of how the mind works, the body works, and all of that. And along with that, I work in mental health, y'all. And but I learned so much in these other rooms that it was just something that touched me. And one thing that I have seen in working in mental health is that I realize we talk about prevention, we talk about being proactive, but are we really teaching people to be well? Because I've seen in so many ways of when people end up on the other side of receiving services, in that they're under a lot of distress, there's chaos and crisis, and I really want to prevent that just in the everyday life. And I'm like, what are people doing before therapy, during therapy, and after therapy? So I'm here to pretty much be your guide in that, and what I've learned in my years in working in mental health, and even with my own experience as well. And so I am on a mission, to help individuals with that. And it's not just for women per se. I do also corporations, but for this particular one in mastering transition, this is for women. And one thing that I do want to let you know is that with whatever you are going through or had gone through, wherever you are in your transition, that you're not broken. You are not broken. With that experience, it is allowing you to evolve probably into someone that you probably didn't even realize that you needed yourself. So you're not broken, you are evolving. Now, with this is for women who are 40 plus, you're entrepreneur, you're a leader, you're a business owner, you're navigating life in or business. You're successful, but you also feel like there's something that may not be in alignment, that you're unbalanced and uncertain. Then the other thing is too, as women, we tend to be doing everything right in serving others and showing up and being strong and just holding it all together. But sometimes that can be so much. And you're at a point in your life where you're like, hey, I'm ready to move forward with clarity and support. Because if anything, you know what to do, but there is something that's stopping you, or either you start or you stop. There's some hesitation, and sometimes it can be even fear. And let me tell you something. The truth about transitions, Transitions don't just change what you do, whatever that regular pattern, routine, or ritual that you have had, it can interfere with that. But it also changes you along the path of how you feel, the different emotions that you have, how you're thinking, and how you're showing up. Because when I went through that transition after the breakup, I was literally crying for 40 days and 40 nights. Literally. And don't you think that changed it in somewhat? Even though I knew I was going to be okay, but even during that journey, it did change how I was feeling and thinking. And even though I like to say, yeah, I was showing up anyway. But when I was looking back, was I really showing up? Now, most of us are familiar with the common transitions. There may be some that may not be of here, but either we ourselves or we know someone who has dealt with a breakup or separation or a divorce. And then in having a new job or a promotion, those are transitions, even though they can be exciting, but they can also have some fear and just different feelings inside. And then there's different stages of entrepreneurship. Because some of this stuff, and I'm like, ooh, y'all ain't tell me all that. And then just in being in business, there's business challenges. And something we hear about it now. I want to say, at least I didn't even have the verbiage for it when it comes to identity shift. Now, I heard about it in certain arenas, and it meant something totally different. But in general, we go through identity shift, especially after a breakup or a loss of a loved one. And then there's that imposter syndrome. That's a piece of transition because it's mainly just because you don't have the experience. And for those of you who are parents, the different phases of parenthood, and then for those of us who've been a caregiver in some form or fashion, no matter what level you have been, it impacts you. And then moving to a new home or you're relocating, those are moments, or should I say, periods of transitions that can deeply impact you. And you know what, y'all? Even with the good transitions, it can disrupt you. It can disrupt your momentum of the way that you're thinking, of how you're behaving, because of the fact growth can still unbalance your confidence, your habits, and your nervous system. Now, what most women do is push through, stay busy, minimize their needs. We're good for that. As long as other people are doing well, we're like, okay, you must move on, right? And we just keep performing. Again, always serving others, always showing up, and then that sense of being strong. And then we wonder why we are exhausted, right? But one thing I can say is that in being a therapist, in my own experience, and in digging deeper into self care, in that the main thing that's missing is structure. How much we want to like completely be on our own and be free and have this freedom, but structure is needed. And to have the support and to have the systems. But the thing is, a lot of times when people are talking about those things, they're talking about the external. And I am one to say there is a level of external structure, support, and systems that you need. I can definitely say when it comes to entrepreneurship, Like when it comes to marketing, if you're not attached to someone who knows marketing, you will really be in the wilderness for real. But there's also the internal structure within yourself, the support that you're able to give to yourself, and the systems that you're developing within yourself. Those are just as important too. And those are the things that are missing. And if you're an entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur, do not leave yourself out. Just know that you're not alone. And when it comes to transition, you cannot have transitions without being transparent. And then to get to the other side, that's where the transformation is. And it takes some work. Now, with the power of the 3 T's, again, with transparency, it's about you being honest. You're honestly assessing where you are and where you want to go, but also who you are and who you want to become. And with the transition, it's the gap, it's the space, it's the movement from your current state to a more empowered version of yourself. Because sometimes, especially in the beginning stage, because I know, like for me, when I was going through that transition from the breakup, even though I knew I was going to be okay, but even in the beginning, I'm like, my life would never be the same. But once I got transformed, or should I say, once I experienced transformation, it's like, oh yeah, my life is not the same. And that's how I want you to be, no matter where you are. Because for some of you, your transitions are personal and some of them are professional. But one thing I will say, even if it is professional, it's personal. And then it's not the end, but on the other side of the transformation, there's a profound change in your character, your personality, and your lifestyle. Meaning, who do you think you are? How are you behaving? And how are you living? How are you living so different? And so, with this webinar today, today's focus is on transparency, which is the foundation for every meaningful transition. Because again, you cannot have transformation without being transparent. And with transparent, sometimes individuals look at that more outward of your relaying that to someone else. That's true, because in order for you to be transparent with others, but you got to be transparent with yourself first. Come to terms with certain things of where you are in your life, where you are in your business, and what your needs are. Because in order for you to shift, and especially in order for that identity to show up, is for you to be honest with yourself. Now, let me tell you what transparency really means. It's, again, honestly assessing who you are in this given time. Because sometimes we're not completely honest. And I'm going to say that is just a human deficit that we have, because we always want to see ourselves, in good light. I know I do. And sometimes there are some individuals who, could be very self-critical. But honestly assessing who you are, where you are, what's no longer working, because sometimes you be doing the same thing over and over and over again, but it's not working. And that's because it feels comfortable. But this is to get you out of that. And then what do you need next? What are your goals, and where do you need to go when it comes to working on your goals? And when you do this, you all, there's no judgment, there's no shame. It's just the truth. Because one thing I will say, sometimes some things may be hard to sit with, but once you sit with it, a light will come. I'm going to leave it like that. Transparency allows you to have clarity and to be deeply aware. And it's for personal and professional growth. Everyone is at different places. And again, it's for you to assess your current situation of where you are and where you want to be. Because sometimes some of you can have, let's just say, high profile role or responsibility or title, but then sometimes you may feel so small. So how can you get yourself to a point where you are fully in that position, especially as an entrepreneur? Because I can say there have been times I'm like, okay, this is where I want to go, but I am not there yet. And then when you're comparing yourself to others, no, you'll get there. But also, it's important for you to identify key challenges. Again, be honest with yourself of where you may need help, and reflect on where you stand in your life and in your business. What are your values? What are your principles? What are the things that you are fighting for? And again, what's working and what's not. Because if you're not honest with yourself, then you're not going to be able to evolve. You're not going to get to the other side. There's not going to be any transformation. And y'all, it does take some work. It's important for you to be intentional about this. And I want you to understand of why transparency comes first. Because without transparency, y'all, transitions feel chaotic. Because it'd be one of those things you don't know why that you're doing it. It's almost like even though Daniel was not aware of it, but we felt his frustration. For those of us who are familiar with the original Karate Kid, when Miyagi told Daniel to wash the cars, and he's washing it, and he got tired of washing it, so he was half washing it, and then he did go to Miyagi. It's like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. And then Miyagi showed him. It's like wax on, wax off. And that's what transitions are. It's the wax on and wax off. But if you're not honest with yourself, then whatever is the wax on, wax off, because again, that can be sitting for 5 minutes just with yourself, looking out of the window, seeing what's beautiful out there, being able to go for a walk, or being able to pitch, to batch, to do different things so that you can get to the other side, so you can work through whatever it is that you need to work through, so you can be more empowered. And then the other thing, habits do not stick if you're not transparent, because again, you don't even know why you're doing it. And you may not have the confidence within yourself. And then burnout will just continue to repeat. You continue to be stressed out, continue to be overwhelmed. And we don't want that. And then even if there are any transformation, it doesn't stay. Because when you're not transparent with your own self, when you're not honest with your own self, it's almost like you're lying to yourself, you know? So that is the other reason for being transparent, because we don't want you to be neutral. Being neutral is not doing anything at all. It's like you're not even acknowledging where you are stuck at. And it's so important for you to be able to do that. Now, this is a reflection moment. For those of you who will see the replay of this, pause this, and I want to say for 15 minutes. Here, we're not going to have 15 minutes to do it, but I do want you after this to put your timer on and set it for 15 minutes. And I want you to ask yourself, write these down. Who am I honestly? Who are you? And then where am I right now, really? And this one, y'all, what am I avoiding admitting to myself? What are you afraid to admit to yourself? And what season am I in? And you can take a screenshot of this, because I do want you to keep this. And let me do this for a moment. So for those of you who may do a screenshot. All right. And we're going to move on. But before we move on, I do want you to, I know I told you to write, but I want you to at least think about, who am I honestly? And I would say that when it comes to the question and answer, for those of you who want to come on stream or comment, you're able to do that. At least share what came up for you. And one thing to know, that transitions are not a failure. It's like, even though I experienced a breakup, and like I said, I cried for 40 days and 40 nights, I didn't feel like a failure, and I knew I was going to get through it. But some people really do feel like a failure. And with whatever life has, whether it's losing a job, or if you grew up without one of your parents, because there are some individuals who really blame themselves because their parent, especially if it's a father and it's a daughter, some individuals really feel personally responsible and really feel unloved. And just know that, it's not you. And when it comes to transitions, and even when it comes to a loved one passing, or losing a job, or separation, or a divorce, or a breakup, that transition is the space between who you were and who you're becoming. Because for each experience that we have, it's an invitation for us to grow to a better version of ourselves. And especially for those of us who have a calling. Because before the breakup, I want to say, even though there are a few things, but I didn't have that much of a story. Oh, my own hand is up. How did my hand even come up? That is funny. I'm not even sure if I can put it down. Anyway, yeah, I'm not even sure how that happened. Yeah, let me do that. Okay, I got it now. It's like, how am I on here and I'm raising my own hand? That is funny. And the other thing, sometimes what we may not realize is that when it comes to transformation, and I'm a firm believer about, the inner stuff, about isolating, but there is a part of it that does require some support, because awareness alone doesn't create change. Just by you reading books, listening to podcasts, and I believe in all of those things. But one thing that I will say, especially for those of us who have a calling, I'm going to say that because there's different types of work. There's some level of work that may require a one-on-one coach or a therapist. Depends on what you're working on. But when it comes to our calling and the things that we need, like our limited beliefs, the things that we may be afraid of, the things that's causing the starting, the stopping, a lot of times that requires structure, accountability, and practice to do it, that space to do it. And with that, I want to introduce you all to the VIP experience. And with the VIP experience, it's Empower Your Evolution. It's a 90-day guided experience for women in transition or women who want to um let's just say you want space where you don't feel like you're always rushing. And if there's a project or a goal that you want to work on, and again you're starting and you stopping, and it can be a personal goal, it can be a project that you're working on, whatever that may be, um, this is for you. And this experience lives in the VIP tier inside Fortitude and Free Circle. And with Fortitude and Free Circle is a private community owned school for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. And the main premise of it is to help you build discipline, embrace challenges, and to sustain resilience. And for those, it's not just for those who what I'm about to say, it's not just for those who have a calling, but especially for those of us who have callings. We're going to run into things. And I don't know about anybody else. It's like I am a heart-centered person. So most of all of my work have been, heart-centered. And so in learning about business, because business and heart-centered seem to have a clash, even though it's not, but it's really about learning new skills. And sometimes when you have the employee mind, that's not going to work in entrepreneurship. And sometimes for those of you who may have a calling, your internal deficit can be stopping you and people are waiting on you. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen to you at all. So with Empower Your Evolution, the 90-day journey, the first 30 days is for you to revive yourself. And a part of that is for you to be transparent. And then when you're transparent, it allows you to have clarity. And we're all about habit formation and planning and execution. Because if anything that I've seen, and even within myself, as I've transitioning into entrepreneurship, is that it's our habits, y'all. Either the habits of doing things or habits of not doing the things. And those things, especially the things that we're not doing, they can really hold you back, and you don't want that to happen. And then in the next 60 days, it's the radiate and revitalize. And that's when you're putting into practice the things that you learn in the first 30 days. And a lot of times without accountability, some of you are not going to do it. And it's natural to fall back and to have a resistance. And you think that a resistance is telling you not to do it. And that's not always true. And so with this program, with this journey is helping you to become consistent, because the more that you do something, especially that you don't want to do, the more you're going to resist it. And if there's no accountability, if you're not in an incubator, a lot of times you're not going to do it. Even with me, I feel like, things that I've wanted to do, that I've gone after it and things. But what I realize is if you're not in a community that can help you with that, that you can uh, not, whatever goals that you have for your call in, they can easily fall stray. Now, with the VIP, what's included in that is a 90-day guided empowerment experience, and it includes one-on-one consultation as well as follow-up, a couple of follow-ups within that 90-day period. Because the other thing is, you can have a plan, but there is no follow-up of where you are, what you're doing, and what adjustments may need to be made, then you can fall off, and we don't want that to happen. And there's weekly structure and accountability, and we also have a monthly Q&A and mindset support. And everything that's in the standard, in the premium program, in the school program, you get all of that. And with this, it's a one full year inside the circle. And the investment is $999 for the first year. And again, this includes a 90-day experience plus 1 year of support. Now, this is our first cohort, and we're only accepting 5 participants. And with this, the VIP is for women who are tired of starting over. You want support, but not the pressure. You need the structure that feels center and grounding. And you don't want to feel like that you're all over your plate, all over the place. And what I have found, that in having a place to land where you can pace yourself, because things still have to be done as an entrepreneur. I mean, it just said the emails have to be sent out, the launches have to happen, the marketing, the branding has to happen. But how can you do all of that without feeling overwhelmed, without losing yourself, and to still be focused on your calling? And you're ready to be honest and consistent, because you're tired of not being able to do that. And this is a application based, because this experience is intentional and it's supportive, and we want individuals who are serious about it, but also realize that you need the support. And by applying for this, it creates clarity and it doesn't obligate you, because we want to make sure that it's a good fit for you. So this is your invitation if you're ready for support, not just more information, because I don't know about you all. I have a whole lot of information, but I need the support to help me execute. And it's just one of those things. And again, we're only accepting 5. So I am inviting you to apply. And the link to apply will be put in it will be put in the chat. And just know that you don't have to rush this season, but you still got to get the work done. And also you have to be honest in this season. And so I will open the door for any questions that anyone have about being transparent, or that you have about joining the VIP. Now, I do want to say, for some of you, you may say, I'm not ready for the VIP. I need it, but I'm not ready. With Fortitude Free Circle, it does have, it is on the school platform. So there's the standard and there's the premium. And with the standard, you have access actually to a lot of the things that will be beneficial for you. And with the premium, the extra benefit is the meditative moment, which is on the fourth Sunday of each month, which is coming up, you know? And so, and the other things is, we talked about pace, where you have access um, for planning, mapping out your week, your month, your quarter. And then you also have co-working sessions where you have the opportunity pretty much to time block. And you can even use that time if you want for self-development. But one thing I have seen is a lot of times, because you all are busy and have different roles, sometimes you may not feel like that you have the time to do the other things. But let me tell you, if you have a calling, time has to be taken to plan things out. Believe me, I know. I have not always been a planner. I'm still learning because it's still not my strong point. But I know enough to know, at least sit down and plan it out. And so if anyone have any questions, then well, if anyone don't have any questions, we will end here. And again, for those of you who are on social media, there would be a link out there where you can join. If for whatever reason it doesn't show up, comment, evolve, and we will get connected. And then the other thing is that I realized I neglected to mention is that with the application, then we'll have, at least 15-20 minutes to talk, because it's not just the application itself. The application starts it, and then we will have a 15-minute consultation, so that with any questions that you may have, and you can find out more about it. Again, this is a space where you don't want to feel rushed, but at the same time you have things that need to be done, but you also don't want to be losing yourself when it comes to entrepreneurship. And when it comes to the Fortitude Free Circle, we're all about you being able to come through when it comes to challenges, adversities, and things like that. And we want you to be you. And so we do a lot of rituals inside the circle. We have that at least on Saturdays, and throughout we have discussions about it. And it is a growing community. And so the more people that we have, I have big visions for this, and I'm so happy for the tier because it allowed it to grow. But anyway, for those of you who want more information, by all means, you can comment, get in touch with me, and I'll be more than happy to let you know. And because we want you to be empowered to involve, because you're not able to do that completely alone, because there is a whole lot of habits and rituals that's needed in order to evolve. See y'all next time.